and welcome back to The Bar and Beyond. If you're joining us for the first time, this is a Legal Plus podcast brought to you by SNL Advocates, where we talk about everything law, technology, and business. I am Ruth Mohawe, and I'm your host. And this episode finds us at the close of Women's Month and all the activity around celebrating and empowering women, and right at the beginning of the Labor Month or the Employment Month in Uganda. So for this episode, we decided to talk about something that sits at the intersection of the two, and that's the women workforce. So we hope to get a peek into legal practice by some of the top female lawyers on the market. And joining me for this conversation are three exceptional ladies, practitioners of the firm. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
And so I'm going to allow you to introduce yourselves. Why don't we just go around and say who we are, what we do at the firm, and for how long we've practiced. We'll start there.
Hi, my name is Marion Angom. Jackie is also there. It is occasionally, usually when my mother has annoyed me and she's trying to make peace. Been at the firm for 7 years now, 10 years in practice in September. I'm in the corporate and commercial department, and I'm very excited to be here. Excited.
Thank you, Marion.
And I am Josephine Muhaise. I am a principal associate with the Dispute Resolution Department, usually colloquially referred to as litigation. I have been with S&L Advocates for coming up on 10 years in August. And yes, I've loved working here. I love working here. And yes, I'm happy to have a discussion, a really fruitful discussion today.
Thank you.
And I am Winnie Awino.
Yes.
When Marion started talking, I started calculating my years because I generally, just go along. I've been here since 2011. A nice cold morning, probably like today in October. I'm a partner. I oversee the banking and finance practice. I also am a partner in the corporate and commercial team, which, has technology, as you all know. I am a baby mother, I think, in the firm. I do love working here. It's like my second home. These are all my children. Yeah, and it's good to be here today. Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for sparing your time on this cold morning to be with us. I know I will probably ask you about the firm, but I first wanted to know if by any chance you have a first memory of each other. I mean, if you guys have worked here close to a decade now, this second family, second home, these are people you spend most of your time with. So I believe you've gone through the most, but do you remember the first impressions you had of each other? Any chance, any takers?
Let's start with the babies. Mine would be a treat with Moha because I knew Moha from school. She was very disciplined. So her coming here was not her first time. It was just different spaces, same faces. I'd like to hear about Marion. What her experience.
First time I saw Winnie, it's like, she's such a happy girl. Like, she was always smiling. It's like, this firm, there are no problems. Like, she was very happy. And now Moha was this very serious girl. In fact, when we became friends, I'm like,
I'm still serious, guys.
No, but still, like, very, very serious. And then she was the only girl in litigation. And you're like, okay. Yeah. And I just remember her walking in with her lunch bag. It was a blue lunch bag, blue and black.
Yes.
Yeah, very religiously. And she was very strict with her diet. Like, I'm having oats for breakfast. I'm like, you're having what? I'm having oats for breakfast. Do you have fruit? No, it's just oats. I wake up in the morning, I make them. So it's like a very disciplined.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. That was my impression. Still is. Serious.
I'm still a serious person.
Still
for the record, I am still serious.
Still eating oats.
Well, Winnie really sold me on my answer, but I've known Winnie to take her mom. We are her children. Went home. I've known her since think I was a teenager. She was a senior to me by
years.
years.
You studied together?
Same school. So a lot of the experiences we have, I think there are those underlying experiences that have brought us together over and over again. Yeah. But Marion, on the other hand, just one first memory. We were actually talking about this a while ago. It would be, other than the jolly, bubbly, up to now, she's like that, but also the fact that the first time I saw her, she was wearing her jacket without wearing it, if you get what I'm saying.
Oh, on top. She still does.
Yes, she still does, but today, thankfully, she has her jacket on. So that was my first memory. It's just seeing her and just looking so put together with her jacket on. It's like,
half on.
not, yes.
And walking very...
Yes, with Chappie, good morning. It was...
Someone actually described her as the perfect representation of a stiletto lawyer. I don't know if that was a compliment or yes, but that's wonderful. I'm actually realizing that some of you have known each other longer than the firm, which is interesting. Well, okay, so now into your workplace.
Wait, Winnie hasn't given her first impression of
Marion.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I do not recall the first impression at work. I think because here, people just come and start working. So I'm not sure who's new and who's not new.
Yeah.
But when we were looking to hire Marion, I think the discussions were ongoing. There was a ULS event. And Marion, I think, was one of the facilitators. And she was walking the rest of us are just, sitting down. And she's towering and walking, all over. And I just came back. I said, okay, we are getting Marion. Yeah. And indeed, like I said, eventually, so Marion, I was just like, and I'm sure very many people have that, when you're going around, people like, okay, yeah, she's very confident. Yeah. She's basically get out of my way. Yeah. And yet back to Muha's thing, hi. So, you are in that blend kind of, So that was my...
What I still keep hoping one of these days you'll take me seriously that, law is your side hustle and modeling should be.
I know. Imagine the money I've been making. Oh, lots of it. Okay.
All right. Well, so Winnie, I think you have, as you said practicing here in 2011. Yes. So this is close to 14 years. 14 right? Years. Do you by any chance remember your first memory of this place? The farm or your work when you walked in, or the task you were given, an experience you had with someone.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me just wind back a bit because I know everyone has that day I applied, I came, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But what LDC, and I think there were those mentorship classes that we used to have, I think like every Thursday or Friday, LDC's Law Development Center. And they said someone from Sevalu and Lule at that time was coming. So you're excited, you are there. Also, you want to hurry up and leave. Then this gentleman comes, very impeccably dressed, spoke, captivated us. You know how most times you are murmuring, but this time you are paying attention. The person comes in a very nice car, talks about legal practice and gives it an entire, because our legal practice were the people we knew, our lecturers, some Boston suits, but Boston legal. Yes. And it was Barnabas. So he came, nice signals. He spoke very well. But the things he was talking about were things that, you could relate with practice, solutions for clients, ethics, integrity. This is the first time they're going to know that is how I found out about Sevalu and Lule. Really? I said, okay. Yeah. I didn't go... My legal practice was Macquarie and LDC, and we're out and we'll figure it out. Yeah. So I said, I like this guy. I like where he works. I'd like to work with them. So come clerkship time, everybody's scrambling to apply for clerkship. I applied to S&L and I came. Probably not Marion style, but one lunch, because we only had lunchtime basically in between to quickly run, dash, drop your application and go back to class.
Yes.
So I came quickly at lunch. I'm not sure if I took a border, maybe, I don't know. Came in knowing I'm just going to drop. No, I didn't have a helmet. I quickly wanted to drop my application and, head out. And I came to the reception, I remember at EADB, East African Development Bank, I think for mezzanine floor. I'm handing in my hello to the people there. I'm handing in my brown envelope application. Brown envelope. Okay. My application. And I said, good. There's someone at the reception standing, touring. I'm like, good afternoon. Then I was like, let's see that guy I met at the other thing.
Yeah.
So I'm handing it in. He grabs the application from Marion at the office. And he read it. You want to clerk here? I said, I'm not sure if I said yes. I'm sure I stammered a bit. Okay, follow me. So we went to his office. So I was like, okay, I haven't prepared. You know how you've just probably quickly done your application. And he asked a few questions. I do not remember anything Barnabas asked me. But the next week, I got a call from Marion, come pick your application. So I must have made a good impression.
A good impression in him
or
as well.
He just said, let me just help this person. And, that was that for clerkship. Okay. And finally was getting my job for October. Yeah, I came in October from clerkship. I think all of us after LDC, you are burnt out. You're just like, let me take a break. Of course, you've applied.
You studied during the period where you'd do clerkship and then first go back to LDC for some months.
Yes. So so I know now it's a bit different. I think for the younger people.
Yes.
But for us, would have the 2 terms, the first 2 terms, your studying term, your orals, and then come for clerkship, and then go back and do your final exams. So I think these days it's the reverse. Finish all the hard work and then come to do your clerkship.
Yes.
So ours was do clerkship, go back and do those exams that just wipe you out.
Yes.
So I was just like, I am taking a break. And somewhere along the way, the firm called, what are you doing? And I said, I'm doing nothing. But they gave me my job, gave me some time to cool off, take a break, come back. I had a little one then as well. So they gave me maternity leave before I came to work.
Okay.
I came in October and there was no time to play solitaire. You'd be scrolling. No, these people, you come on day 1, you start working. You're not even, hello. No, there's you'll meet people as you are working with them. Yeah. So I feel like I just fell in the deep of things.
Yes.
I ended up doing all sorts of things. So I cannot say that I remember day 1 because day 1 was just business from the word go.
But at least you definitely remember your clerkship interview. And I think what surprised me is you had actually just come to drop a letter, so you didn't anticipate that you would actually be interviewed.
Nothing. So anything, practice. So actually it was not death by fire, but
yes.
And if you know Barnabas, his business, don't, bring funny things around. Yeah. So between Mez and the reception and his office wasn't a long way, but I just feel like we were walking endlessly.
Yes.
Yeah. But the rest is history.
Yes, it is a long history, as we will see. Josephine.
First experience or how I got to the farm?
No, first experience, first memory or experience at the farm.
Okay, I think first, I remember my first day. I don't know what Winnie is talking about because for me, it was my first time in the farm. I'd come from my previous employment, which was with the late Dr. Byamgesha. So my first time was when they had moved here, when the building was still new, and I've received my offer of employment. So it's day 1, 31st August of 2015. It was a Monday, and I remember because I tried to get Barnabas to allow me to come on the 1st, and he said no. It's a Monday, 31st. You're coming. Yeah. So I come the first day. I sit in reception. I'm overly early because first day nerves. Come. I'm in a suit. Everyone is moving, focused, like Winnie is mentioning. This one is moving here. I spoke to Marion. She said wait, and then I was directed to now Winnie's office, which is, again, interesting. Yeah. So the first office I sat in was that office. And what I remember was just how because everyone would greet you. No one knows you, but they would say hello. They would ask, do you need something? Have you eaten? Do you know where tea is? So it was nice in that way. But also, I think what made my first day also memorable was the person who oriented me, Paul, because he made the experience a little less daunting. It was, he came, introduced me to people, but also kind of just brought me into the fold in a very seamless manner. So my first day was memorable because of that, how people were, but also the big office I sat in, which is now Winnie's, but and Paul, he did make that experience very easy and memorable.
So you did have an orientation?
Yes,
you can't
I had. Because it again, you have to remember, I didn't do my clerkship here.
Yes.
I didn't intern here.
Probably as well, actually. That could have been
as coming from somewhere different, and I was being brought into. So given those circumstances, I expected things to be very hard. I don't know where, but I don't remember that difficulty, that new place. Yes, it was smooth, teaching me how to handle things, templates, people, where they sit. It was a very memorable experience. So that
sounds less
that
scary.
absorbs me.
That sounds less scary.
Yeah.
Marion.
First of all, because I was moving from Max. So I felt like there was a lot of curiosity. Like, who is that girl? I remember, was it Andrew or James? Like, I have been looking forward to seeing you. So there was already the first week actually was a lot of curiosity of why did you make that move? How could you make that move? Like, there was a lot of that. But what I remember most was Trudy. Yeah. Like, I remember, so I sat in reception, no more. Paul comes and picks me up. And I remember walking with my bag and my lunch bag to her office. I don't know what I was wearing. I don't know if I had the jacket on then. But I remember she was really, like, she actually eased me into that whole first week. Like, for 3 months, we'd have check-ins at the end of every month. And it should be like, hi, how are you doing? Are you acclimatizing properly? Like, so somehow I think now that helped to create, like, it helped to ease me in. Now I learned more about her. She told me about so many things. You know how Trudy was very busy doing so many things at once. So, like, those are like my best highlights from my first 3 months in the farm. But also it was just how people used to take care of you. So Paul would drop in every lunchtime, Marion, let's go for lunch. And then for some reason, I think around September I was doing a fast. So I didn't eat for like a week. So Alice walks up one day. She's like, Marion, do you not like the food? You're not eating. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Food is a big deal here. And then Paul also comes like randomly. He's like, I've noticed you've not been eating. So I was like, okay, lunch is a hallmark of culture in Sevalu. So I finally got down for lunch and I sat at the table. And Grace came and told me, you're not supposed to sit here. That's the wrong table. This is where you're supposed to sit. But somehow that eased me in. And because when I was coming from Max, everyone was like, man, that place you're going to, it's not like us. Those guys are very, we have a reputation of being very uptight, strict. So they're like, how are you going to handle? So somehow everything worked. And here we are. Here we are.
I'm wondering, I've never been asked why I'm not
having lunch.
I'm wondering if it's because I'm always having lunch or because people stop noticing.
We see where you have lunch from.
Well, thank you all. I think some of your experiences date back to, okay, not before I was born, I would be exaggerating.
We're not that old.
No. But yes, you can actually see a trajectory, I would say, and also a sort of soft evolution, I think, in the culture and, the farm. Hopefully, I think we're easing up a bit, or at least where it matters.
Yeah, you should be telling us.
Yes. And I must actually applaud you guys because it's hard to pinpoint a particular first memory, whether it's first day or first experience. But I remember that when you spoke about Trudy, a former partner at the farm, I remembered that during clerkship, orient us now, and they take us to like the different offices.
Yeah.
And they introduce a clerkship plot, but they also introduce the lawyer and their practice field. And so most times it's, of course, as you'd imagine, it finds people in the heat of things. Some people have their firefighting submissions, deadlines, and so that interaction is usually very short and also very, sometimes it's not very impactful. Like you get to know people much later on as opposed to that first interaction.
Yeah.
But I remember that what stood out for me was when we went to Trudy's office, there were 10 of us. So they did the normal introduction of this is, a partner, and then there's a clerkship lot from Mo, can you see you?
Yeah.
And so she actually asked each of us to introduce ourselves. And so all 10 of us, and not just like your name and where you're from, but she asked us what we are interested in doing. And when you're from clerkship, you have all
over the place.
You're all over the place. You have
grand ideas.
Grand ideas and confused ideas.
I want to change the world and make society better.
And your interests are all over the place. Like someone will say, I like tax and human rights, or like, and so it can be very, but she actually listened to everyone.
Okay.
And I think for me, what was impactful even beyond that interaction was I noticed that over the next 3 months, it's like she had an intention, or she made a note to somehow assign work to people based on what they had said they were interested in. Obviously, not all the time, because some people's interests are way either outside of the farm, or sometimes they don't have that particular work.
Yeah.
But you'd see that for those who said they liked banking, or those who liked tax, should try and pull you into assignments that related with what you had. Or if she didn't, you'd have conversations about it. Like even when you want to talk about your work on something else, she would ask you about what you said you were interested in, which I found for someone who was, I think, very busy, as partners are, I found that very, so yes. But okay, mine is like what, 2-3 years ago. So it should be fresher. Yes. All right, Winnie, you, again, and I keep putting you on the spot for the years of service that you have. But it's very inspiring to all of us, as you'd imagine. And I think we've had these conversations before, so now I want to open it up about you mentioned that you are a partner in corporate and commercial, and then you're also, I think, leading the banking and finance practice at the firm, and also financial technology. Yes. And I know that your initial training, maybe you'll just confirm for us, but your base foundational training was mostly corporate and commercial. I know that the firm, especially when you just come in, they try to make you do everything, but at your core, it was corporate and commercial. And since then, there's been an evolution. I think even the corporate you were doing in your first year and the corporate you were doing by your 5th year were a bit different. But then now you into banking and finance, and then financial technology as well. What's that like? What's that evolution like? What's it been for you? Is it something you envisioned? And the reason I ask is most times, especially in today's practice, we're being sold on specialization. And so people are told, they get out of LDC knowing, I want to do tax. And so it's beginning, in my life, I'll be a tax practitioner.
Yeah.
I don't think we think about pivoting at that stage. Yeah. So I just want to understand if it's something you ever thought, like that trajectory you've been on. And then also how you've managed to adjust across all the different practice groups. And
Okay. We may stay here.
Everybody
should get a blanket. But today is the day people are going to discover that I did litigation.
Wow.
But you rightly pointed out when we joined the firm, it was a case of let's have a feel of everything. Because, you come out of LDC, I want to be a banking lawyer. You have like the banking is in Gawa. Or, that's it. Yeah, you have not interacted with serious banking, and 3 days into banking, you are like, I'm sorry.
I don't want to
human rights.
Forgive me, yes.
Yeah, so I did everything, literally. I drafted pleadings. For the record, I drafted pleadings.
I will look for those
I drafted pleadings. I did, I'm not sure if I did so much employment. I know it was very ring-fenced at that time, and then it was growing at the time I joined. Employment was starting out as a practice. But I did everything. I did litigation, I did banking. So in the morning, you're buried in pleadings. In the afternoon, you're doing a mortgage. Tomorrow, you are...
Did you go to court? Are you the people that brag that you have one judgment in
I
your
went to court.
You did?
So I went to court.
Okay.
Few people know this actually. Someone, it might have been Nicholas, I can't remember, who had an emergency and who's available? Of course, every other serious lawyer. At that time, I was a budding serious lawyer. Had gone to court, so I was available. So he just briefed me on the file. I went to court. I don't know, I may have been scared, I don't remember. But I got to court. It was an afternoon, so I probably went at 11. Like, I cannot take any chance. I have to be in court. Anyway, I went to court, and when I got there, you sit, and then the judge comes after. Then the judge walked in. Oh, my niece.
Wait,
let's just say that my court experience, that was my first and last. We ended up finishing business and then ended up in other things, and I came back to my ordinary life. So I did go to court. For those who don't know.
Now we know.
That shouldn't have been so bad. That can't have been so bad.
Conflict of interest. I think she asked for someone else to I am her niece actually. I just won't mention. She will know when she hears it. So I did a bit of that. Along the way then, as I said, you're doing this and that, you find, okay, I thought I liked this. I don't mind it, but I don't have a passion for it. So probably you find yourself easing, out of, that particular practice area. And then I ended up still doing banking and finance and corporate and commercial. And for me, they were far apart, but still connected because somehow the themes are the same. Over time, ended up in corporate, I would say wholly. I think we also did some projects. And maybe whether it's for the discussion or for people who are growing in their career, is have a taste of everything. It's not that you are wasting your time or, but it makes you a better lawyer because you have a touch point for different things. But personally, for me, I think the areas that I've focused in are related. The issues are the same. It might be client A or client B, but what is keeping the client awake? It's probably risk, it's probably customer satisfaction, business success, sustainability. The issues are the same. So whether I'm looking at a corporate finance matter, or I'm looking at a merger or whatever, the issues for me are the same. But the fact that I was able to scat, around, and Paul and I think, did that quite a bit. At some point, we were jack of all trades. But it makes you more agile. Like you're thrown into a certain area and you're able to draw experience from something else. But also, you are not just a one-box lawyer, which is usually my biggest fear, because you get on a call and the client will ask something in employment and you start blinking or you are stammering or pardon, the network. No. So I don't think anyone wants to get into that kind of. So for me, I can say at some point I could foresee it because things started, I like it, but not much. So foreseeable, not as fast as probably I imagined, because our market is small. We don't have that many transactions to project you into the next best thing, but also deliberate, because then I was like, okay, I don't like this thing. I am not going to do it. So I would have the discussion maybe with the supervisor at the time, and somehow I shift to where I feel I need to be. And then Trudy came, and then it became very easy because somehow we all just said, okay, had that discussion, and I ended up in, I'd say, corporate fully. And for changing landscape, I know you've mentioned financial technology. If there's anyone today who denies technology, you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. But with the changing times, everything has become tech. So whether you are in litigation, dispute resolution, or you are in corporate, or you're in employment, somehow you need to evolve into something that has, digitalization. You have to get into that space. So I have found that I like, so in doing the tech, for our clients in corporate and banking, I have found I've morphed into a tech lawyer. I've been very deliberate about building, I think, expertise in it. They say if you're not learning, you're dying. So we've taken some courses. I'm sure people have found me at night.
Yeah.
In the morning.
Everyone finds you at night.
Yeah, but part of it is catching up because it is such a wide, leave the rest of the practice areas where you feel, okay, I think maybe I have a grip on this one. This one is just ever evolving. Yeah, so I'm continuously always looking, okay, what can we do differently? Yeah, but I love that I have transitioned and I'm happy and my eyes are open.
Wow. Actually, just listening to you talk, it sounds like you've gone through 3 different life experiences or practice experiences. And it seems like 30 years, and it's not that long, but it seems like 30 years. Yeah. But I like that when you explain it, I like that you mentioned that the areas, I think the way we usually think about specialization and sectors is as, silos, and yet from the way you explain it, they sort of more for, merge into each other or complement each other. Yeah. And I think also our supervisors, whether it's Paul or yourself, have always told us, that example that you gave, you do not want to be when advising a client on one thing and then you're asked a question and you can't answer it because you said I do tax. Yeah.
So hold on, let me call for you.
Yes, you need to have a broader. Yeah. Yes, but I would also affirm that because I know that the few experiences that I've had in litigation and continue to have in tech litigation make me a better advisor, understanding risk. You now know where the risk is going to come from.
Yes.
And it sort of sharpens you. So yes, that makes so much sense. But wow. Yeah. Well done. That's all I have. Well done.
I'm still going.
Right, and the fact that she's open, tomorrow she could also be
I'm coming. Arbitration.
You won't come back.
Arbitration.
Arbitration.
Well, Josephine, we call you our litigator.
We are many though.
Yes. So you mentioned you are with dispute resolution, which is litigation, arbitration, and the one thing I think this is always pointed out to you. I don't know if you like it or if you're tired of it, but it's always pointed out to you that for a long time you've been the standing female force in our dispute resolution practice. And it's not just a firm thing. I think especially for the earlier years of practice, litigation was a bit male-dominated in our market. And I've had different reasons for it from the time I joined. I mean, as one of those clerkship students asking, why are there women in litigation? With so much energy. And then I remember being asked, do you want to be told to go to sorority for a matter on a bus at 2 a.m.
Wow.
That's
we're going to demystify.
Yes, that was the picture that I was given. And I said, you know what? No. Yes, feminism all the way, but I understand.
Yeah, 2 a.m.
But how is Josephine managing or doing it? So, and then I later learned that you had not, I thought you had been in litigation all your life. No. And then I found out you had also first toured in other, So just tell us what that's like.
Yeah.
But 2, what your experience is. I know that now I think there's maybe more female litigators than when you started. Yeah. But at least even at this firm, you're still holding forth. So is that a blessing every morning? Is it a burden every morning? Just, what's that like? And also your journey, how you got to litigation.
Ooh, how much time do you have? I may compete with Winnie. How did I get to litigation? That's a really long story. But I think the abridged version is like Winnie, back in the day. When you'd come to the farm, and I think the farm still tries to be intentional with this, is go everywhere, do everything. And I had a lot of experience with corporate, with advisory, banking, insolvency, debt collection. I had experience with employment. Yes, I worked with Moses for quite a while, and that was a very different experience in of itself. Then litigation, but litigation was more drafting and really submissions, plaints, pleadings. Pretty much that was the vibe. But as I grew, time passed, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I started to gravitate towards a favorite practice, which was litigation. And surprisingly, that's because it was the hardest, the most challenging, which is really more of who I am. I am drawn to challenges. You tell me don't go here, it's exactly where I will.
So that's real.
Yeah, so it's that intrigue
Red
of
flags.
yes, not red flags. No,
She's in a green dress.
like that. I'm a green flag. Hello. Yes, but it was more of I don't know. The guys would go to court. They say your pleadings are good. No changes. You get to that point and you're like, okay, what else is there? So year on year, there's always that appraisal where they ask you, okay, where do you see yourself within the next year? What do you want to improve? And I think it was year 4, year 5 where I'm like, I want to do more in terms of actual active court litigation. I have moved, I have experienced, I've worked with each partner, but that was a part I was missing. I wasn't going to court, I wasn't arguing. I was going to court, but I was the file.
You are carrying the hands and the
hands. This one.
Not the suitcase.
Yes, but suitcase sometimes. But so thankfully, and that's one of the biggest contributors to what I'm doing now, is the team I have and the bosses I had. As they're appraising you, they want you to grow. Yes. So once I asked, they gave me what I asked for. So slowly by slowly, I started getting mandates. I remember my first mandate, the one I remember because I messed up a bit, and this is something that Joseph talks about a lot. Yes,
I have to learn from those.
Exactly, it was my first time in industrial court, and it was a panel. It was full court, a lot of male lawyers, clients, and it was the first time I was in a setting like that because I had magistrate courts for a while, and it was my first high court like setup.
Yeah.
So I am in the court and they call our file, and I, of course, have to enter appearance, which is really introduce yourself. So
I called done everything.
Yes, no industrial. At that point, it was
they
still
were a bit flexible.
Yes, and now they are really flexible. So I get up and say, speaking to a judge, Your Worship, I am. And she let it slide. Yes, and there were 2 judges. It was a lady judge still there. I don't think she remembers, but it was the first time she let it slide. The second time she's like, cancel.
She could only be disrespected once.
Yes. So, of course, my nerves are all over the place. So when she says cancel, as a judge, the proper address, she says it very politely, but of course the court burst out. It was funny. But that was the experience. And it's something Joseph talks about.
Let's test you. What were you supposed to say?
You're supposed to say, my lord.
Okay.
May it please, my lord, or your lordships and panelists. That was what I was supposed to say. So I said, Your Worship, and panelists, and it was just it did not do much for my confidence that day. But again, putting myself in that situation over and over again, and having bosses who allowed me to continue to do that got me to where I am now. And in turn, is the more I got to do it, the more I saw a different side of my skill set, expertise, but also my personality come out. Because again, as much as I enjoyed the advisory, the consultancy, attending meetings, you're in board meeting, there are snacks here and there, you're working on this project and it's interesting. I remember when I was working with projects, you're working on this big project. it's a very different experience being in a court and having to pivot on sport, yes. And also having in your hands the risk you talked about.
Yes, exactly. That's actually manage risk.
Yeah. So you at the end of the day, there's a result that is in the form of a judgment, a ruling. So you're like,
my name is on this thing.
Exactly. But over time, it changes you. And it changes you for the better. I haven't seen anyone who has gone through that practice and they're intentional about growth that hasn't grown.
Yes.
Whether it's your confidence, whether it's how you handle abrupt situations, whether it's how because litigators, we are speaking the law, technical terms, Latin, but then you come to the client and they don't know these things.
Yes.
So you're also being taught how to break that down. I think in school it was the grandmother principle. Yes, you have to distill it. So you're speaking about something very intense, but you learn over time.
Have to communicate it.
Switch. Judge, I speak like this. Client, I speak like this. My team, this is how we speak. Yes. So that was really the growth path I went from, and the firm really accommodated it. They still do. And for now, I am still the only female, and I'm hopeful, because I didn't see myself in the beginning doing this at all. I came ready to be corporate. I knew what I wanted. I thought I did, just like how Winnie said. In law school, I thought I knew what I wanted. But again, remaining open to those experiences, and also life kind of nudges you to where you're going to end up going. And if you remain open, because now I have also seen with time there are new practices. We're doing arbitration. You have to build your expertise there. It's not something you learned in law school. So how are you upskilling? I had to go back and study last year. So you're constantly growing. But if you remain open, it serves you even more.
Yes. So you're out there holding hope that soon one of us will
Ruth is coming to sorority. So it's
have you ever had to find yourself on a bus at like 6 a.m.?
Not a bus, but yes, upcountry litigation was a significant part of the beginning part of court. So it got me to move around and really see different forms of court. And again, that's also teaching you how to speak to different calibers of people, handle different situations. This one is a bit, biased against your clients' operations, and their knowledge of their business may be a bit limited or a bit from a bad experience. How do you handle that? How do you handle an upcountry setting where, it's a 3-day court session, but, your witness is in a different district, so you have to prepare them, but you have to move up and down. It was really a part of the initial step. And it wasn't easy, but it was a good one.
Listening to you speak, I don't think I'm going to find myself.
I have hope. And that's the thing. It's in the beginning, like you're saying, it's slowly changing. I know we still hold the lower part of the scale in terms of practitioners. The bench is doing much better than the bar. So the judges seem to be balancing that boat a bit better. But on our part, we have such a big job to do. But there is growth since I started. So sometimes I'm the only lady in court, but at times we can be 2 female lawyers on both sides and a female judge, and you're like, look at us. Yes, it's changing. So I have hope. And Ruth, you're welcome.
Ruth, if you'll allow me to just speak on from something, just, I think this is excellent because it's like I'm saying more in your life, given our history. But long history, yes. But just hearing her and just, going back to, are the opportunities there? She's saying that they're there. Has she said, this is what I want to do? She's put herself in that place and she has been able to, advance there. So for me, it's just like in there, I've been like, okay. Because I know many of us, litigation, woo. And she's what must be done, I think, is the scenario that she has put.
Yeah.
If this is what must be done, I am going to step in, I'll do it, and I'll move on. Yeah. So for me, I'm just
in awe.
thank you.
In
Yes,
awe.
yes.
And
It's a very
inspirational journey.
Yeah.
The fact that you mentioned that you gravitate towards the
Challenge.
hard thing.
Yes, up to now, even the cases.
Yes.
And that's the thing. I don't think anyone who has been in a very challenging situation will say they haven't grown from it in one way or the other.
True.
So if you apply it to life, just think about it. Anything you have really struggled with, LDC is something we all share. That was probably the hardest academic year of our lives, but look at the kind of lawyer it brought out.
Yeah.
So I chase the challenge, and when it stops being challenging, somehow one emerges, and it's just that one until infinity. I guess.
find the satisfaction in what you're doing.
As a tech lawyer, I think I will think about your practice. Now, like even there's been evolution in the litigation space as well, especially within Kampala, at least for now. But digital transformation is happening as well in the courts, in practice, not at the scale it should, but there's some progress.
Yes.
So whether it's how we're filing, or I'm told people are now able to appear online
video,
and stuff. So when the technology rises to meet, then
You will cross.
I may just partner litigation.
It's speeding up slowly, and you mentioned tech litigation, so I don't see it very far.
Very far from
So I encourage people to do that more.
women who are thinking about litigation.
Women, men, you find that sometimes litigation, it's a scary experience. I deal with witnesses who the first time they have to go to court, it's like you're talking someone down from a cliff. It's like I don't want to jump, but it feels like you want me to jump. It's just, but again, it's one step at a time. Don't look at it like a big thing. Just look at it. If your interest is there, go for it. Go for it. The room it's big and it is enough for everyone.
I feel better.
So come through.
You know,
Marion.
Mo has reminded me of, those mots we do at LDC?
Oh, by the way, I was the best at the move.
Litigation. So, I think it was the last month before exams. There's so much going on. So, my lord, I could have said my lord father.
My lord father.
Yeah.
Or like,
literally. No. And then I think Michael Cancel
my lord.
like my lord, this trying to make the point, right? At some point, I think I'm like, my lord father.
So for you were praying.
No, it's praying beyond.
Literally praying.
So that was the joke. So when the next month setting came, they're like, Marion,
No, just do another thing.
I told them, guys, it's okay. I'll do the submission. It's okay. I won't show up again. But yeah, it reminded me of that. And people are very upset because it was a tight thing. Like, how could you say my lord father? I'm like, do you know that now?
Pressures.
Do you know that pressure?
But I think my lord father is better than your worship.
No, my lord father before your friend, then your worship before
a public,
And the full court, the proper, like now it's, yes.
Yes, so Marion, I know you mentioned earlier that when you joined the firm, there was some mystery around you, and I think that's because you were joining from another law firm. That's Max Advocates, which is another Tier 1 firm in the market. And I think why that mystery was there in the first place is you were lateral hire, right? And that's because the firm generally is known for, I'd say, breeding, grooming. It's lawyers. Crop from
we grow the crop.
Yes, when people join us for clerkship, there's some training. They identify, potential hires, those are the ones that usually get to stay. But then once in a while, when the need arises, when a lawyer is good in the market, they are gotten from somewhere else. And I think now there's been a couple of those in the firm, but I think at that time as well, you may have been one of the first few. Yes. And then I also know that you've had the benefit of experiences in different places.
Yeah.
When we were coming on here, I thought you had actually only had 2 secondments, and which is where you are placed with a client, right? To serve, if the need arises, you get to serve them. I know that you remain an employee of the firm, but you are stationed with the client to serve them for a particular period, whether that's 6 months, a year, right? Yes. So when I thought you had only done secondment with Total and then with MTN Momo, but I was corrected that you have also, I think, before done a secondment with Standard Chartered, right? Which again, like I said, all of you have a wealth in years and experience and in wisdom. So I'm honored to be to get to hear about these stories.
Yeah.
But yes, we just wanted to understand what that's been like for you. And by that I mean adapting yourself to the different environments. We talk about SNL culture a lot. That's because it's heavy. It's there and it's heavy. And I would assume that's the same for Marx. Every place has their culture, their behaviors, their practices.
Yeah.
And so having to adapt yourself to these different environments, sometimes just for 6 months and then you have to come back here. So you experience something completely different and then you're back here.
Yeah.
But then also the wealth of experience, what that has done for you as a person, right? Because you're interacting with different people and different environments.
Yeah.
But also as a lawyer in your profession, I would assume it has enriched you, but that's an assumption. You may have trauma. you let us know. Yes. So just generally what that's like, and for people who maybe feel like they are either being shuffled around or they are shuffled around different. For Winnie, it was different practices. For you, it's different environments. Yeah.
First, I'd say that when I joined Sevalu, I never thought that I would move. Paul calls me the secondment associate. I didn't anticipate that. I remember the Stanchart secondment. It was at the peak of COVID. Yes. So many, and Stanchart, those people work. If you saw protocols of COVID, theirs were like a notch higher. So I think I would only deal with the CEO, his assistant occasionally, and the people in the legal department. So everybody else it was entirely remote. So for that experience, but I don't think I really entered the Stanchart environment properly because it was COVID, and it was just, I was feeling it was someone who had gone on maternity leave. It was mainly doing a lot of retail and corporate banking. So that was it. Now that one was the first, you know how they teach us about powers of attorney?
Yes.
Those things of URSB? Like in a day, you're like,
Fear.
You guys, like where we sit at the firm, company incorporation, company law, it's so easy. But there someone comes and says, now you see the names are different. I want my money. You can see the frustration on their faces. And then it goes into the customer experience thing when you were speaking about. So now that's when I learned, I'm like, hey, okay, when you sit at the firm, you're just looking at your company's act. And by then we didn't have the online system. So it's like, this is a process. But when you're there, you have to think in a way that, how do I deal with this customer? How do I deliver my legal advice in a way that they will not stop coming to the bank?
Yes.
How do I give them a solution? How do I enter their shoes and help them and say, like, how do you even because the businesses are very risk averse. So someone will say, I am so sorry. If the name on the certificate of incorporation it's a different person. And so that's when I learned that, okay, how do you work with these guys to make them your friends so that you can help the client? Can we deliver legal advice in a way that we are balancing risk with also helping the business to grow? Because if that person goes away and is very annoyed and maybe quarrels on the Stanchart Twitter page, we have lost a customer and we have also spent a lot of money and resources in trying to mitigate that risk and etc. So that was the first understanding of your law firm and practice totally different. So that was just the first one, the first introduction. Then come back to the farm, and now it's Total. Now Total was a different baby. Total was they're very big on safety. I was moderating an event last week on oil and gas, and we were talking about navigating compliance challenges. So we're speaking to a panel of there was NEMA and health and safety. And I was telling them, the first time I went to Total, first of all, I was stressed about their parking. You know how reverse parking is a challenge when you've just learned to drive? Now Total's parking slots are diagonal. It's not straight, it's like diagonal. And then their building is such that when you're struggling to park, someone is watching you from their seat.
Pressure.
There's already that pressure. And then there's a notice there that says reverse parking only.
Yes.
So
maybe I'll just where do they do that?
Safety, the oil and gas sector space.
So you need to exit quickly.
Exit quickly, because if an emergency happens, you don't have time to say, this person is in the loo, I need his keys. It's get out immediately, right?
So you can't work there if you do not.
Yes, you need to learn. First of all, that's when you get over the parking lot is full of Kias. You guys, the first time I went there, I was like the latest Kias. How am I going to park my dear Toyota? How am I going to park it? Anyway, so that was the first thing I struggled with. And even when you walk into their offices, they have clear pathways. They're like yellow arrows. This is where you're supposed to walk. Now me, Galavante, I was walking outside. Someone came and told me, I'm going to give you a stop card because you're not complying with our culture. I'm like, say what?
Stop card.
So they wear their tags, and it's a stop card. It's a compliance thing. So if I find you violating any of the safety norms, I give it to you. Then I go and report it in the system and say I got a violation, and then I get marks. That is how serious they are about safety. So I was like, so she's like, then another day you were driving out and you didn't follow the demarcated line for driving out. You guys, I used to be stressed about parking.
Compliance.
That's
the parking we do.
The parking we do here.
You know, they give us these big lines to accommodate those who park like this.
And we still go around the whole...
So I'm just thinking about...
So now that was Total. Total was very big about compliance, but then I remember that there's a time we were doing an audit. It was an audit about compliance, and Charity asked me we're supposed to do letters of undertaking. So that basically wanted to ensure that the suppliers are actually complying. I sat and looked at the letter. I'm like, what am I supposed to write in this letter of undertaking? Then I realized if you sit at your desk and pretend to be a lawyer, you're not going to get anything done. If you're in this environment, like when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Moha always jokes. She's like, you have come back to us, but I feel like you're still talking like you belong there. Because so it's a skill I had to learn. You have to immerse yourself in the culture. So I remember I walked down to the depot guys, the transport sector, and they have these massive screens where they're monitoring every fuel truck wherever you are. And then they even have monitors. If you're a driver and you're about to get tired, they'll call you and say, according to our assessment, you're about to get tired and you're going to sleep on the road. Please park. Park and rest. So I told him, you know what? First help me understand how this thing is done. Then he tells me we have primary transporters and secondary transporters. Primary transporters bring the oil from the coast. They bring it here in our depot. Then the secondary transporters come and pick it from here. So now whenever I would see a truck moving on the road and I see a Z, a random number plate, I'm like, primary. Primary transporter. I've learned something, but that's now, that inculcation, that's how I was able to go to the depot. Diesel is beautiful, the color. I looked at it, I'm like, very beautiful. But it started from, I need to deliberately get myself into your environment. And then you suddenly build trust. So someone now comes and oh my goodness, there's this thing that I'm not comfortable with. Instead of the contract coming to you when you have late notices of intention to sue, but now they come to you from the onset.
So Marion, you deliberately went and understood the business.
The business, I was no longer a lawyer. I was not a lawyer. And now I think that whole thing got demystified most in Momo. Like, I think Momo was because, we have this whole business advisor concept. Like, yes, we're lawyers, but we're not really lawyers. I can't give you value unless I understand your business so well. And now it came in, I think, now for Momo, because now Momo was a management role. And it's so funny because previously, I remember Total, when they asked me what my views were, I was like, can I have a more strategic role? Like, even at the farm, like, yes, I love my mergers and acquisitions, by the way. But at some point, I was like, I'm tired of being at the receiving end of project per se. Like, I want to be in the room when the decision is being made. Like, let us go and acquire Lacoste, for instance, right? And it was a prayer for so long that I didn't realize God had answered it until the middle of the Momo secondment. Because I was like, God, when all these things come in, like the client wants to acquire this person, you're like, how did you reach that decision to acquire 15%? What are the risk considerations? How are you going to, basically, how is this thing going to work? I had to be in the driving seat. So now when Momo came, listen, I was like, this is what it means. Oh, the fire. Like, yes. Like, oh, management is not as easy as we make it seem. So I think that's it. Just basically becoming the client. Muha kept teasing me at, I think, that presentation I had at the retreat. She's like, Marion, you kept saying we. like you're back to the farm. She had moved on. Like you're back to the farm, you keep saying we. But I think it's that deep inculcation of, unless I totally become you, I can't add value to you.
And to give credit to Marion, is she's joking that I usually tell her that she changes spots when she goes to a different secondment, but that speaks to how intentional she is about really understanding the business. And when you're talking to her about, oh, what's going on in terms of your experience, is she's talking to you like she's a client, which helps build our perspective, those of us who have not done that, but also it shows the breadth of her growth, because over time you'll see, yes, the relation she creates, but also just the way she looks at the law and business.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I think people are saying for you that in case you were in any doubt that it has built you both as a person and as a lawyer. And I think I mentioned that to you during the retreat as well, where I felt so I was supposed to do this entire presentation about, like our journey and to talk about tech and digital transformation. And I felt that there was something missing and it could only be answered, understood, explained by someone in industry, someone who's been in industry, and I felt that, and I think I even told you after that presentation that what you did, no one in this room could ever have given us. So I don't know if you have a different story that we have spoken for you, but I don't know if your takeaway from all of these experiences is different.
No, it's actually extremely positive. As I said, when I was leaving Max, if you told me that in 7 years, I'd have 3 secondments and I would still be able to come back to the farm and adjust and come back, like, because right now I'm back to normal programming. You're like, oh, where's the project? Okay, bring the opinion, let's do it. But I think it's been, first of all, I'm very grateful for that. It shows a lot of trust from the farm side. Like, we can send you, it's okay. And the thing is, secondments are actually interesting. The first month is always the hardest because, first of all, you don't know people. You know no one. You're not Marion. You are Sevalu and Lule. So every day you're like, I am Barnabas. No, literally, you're the farm. Like, you're carrying everyone in your head. So there's a lot of pressure there for starters. And you're like, just one wrong misstep, the farm is on the line, right? So the first month is always the hardest. But then at the end, you're like, if I can, I think it just goes to, if I can create relationships, if I can get people who can teach me this business, because the law is the same. A contract will always be a contract. The difference is the subject matter and maybe the risks, but it's the same thing. So if I can be a good business advisor, if I can, instead of getting stuck on a contract, if I can walk to someone's desk and say, man, help me demystify this for me, talk to me like a child. And you realize that people love talking about themselves and the things they do. So if you say, please take me through this, someone is so happy to take you through it. And then those relationships that you create, and the relationships are not just, oh man, you talk to the CEO. No, it is everybody. It's you're talking to the Getman because you're learning something. It's an all-encompassing thing. And because I said, once you're there, you're Barnabas, there's also the support that the firm gives you, because at some point I'll call you and be like, Winnie, this one, like, please come in. Like, Paul, guys, I need help here. So even though they send you in secondments, they're behind you. Like, oh, by the way, can you just be a sounding board for me on this one? I don't know how this works. So the secondments, even the success is more from the support of the firm as well. Because the days when I've needed contacts that Winnie, Paul, or anybody else can provide, and I didn't know. I think the last one, I called Zere. I'm like, man, Zere, this thing is litigation. This is it. This is what I think. He's like, oh, that one is easy. Like child's play. Do this, do this, do this. So even my success at all these secondments, it's not really me alone. There's actually a background of people at the back. And of course, the friends. Like, hi, how are you doing? I haven't seen you in months. And I'm like, sorry, guys, I'm headlining Blankets and Wine. Yeah. I had to drop it there.
Ruth, maybe if I'll just... Marion has said very many things. And I feel like I needed to be transcribing them. But so that people don't forget that we are lawyers. I know we're looking chic and relaxed, but Marion has said some important things. In her 7 years, she has been able to, as a firm, we're a commercial firm, we're specialized, we'll do all these things. But at a client's place, you are doing banking. It's a financial institution's business. Or you are doing oil and gas, or you are doing financial services, mobile money. But, you're dropped there and you have to learn very quickly. So as a lawyer, we have to be what? Agile. We have to adapt. Because if you don't, then, you must get out. Because if you're not bringing value to the client and also to the firm, then, so for me, just hearing that, and then, if you've noticed, she has mentioned employment, she has mentioned litigation, she has mentioned, basically, it's a you get to that point where you are not, that's why, going back to that thing of, we have all these practice areas, but at the end of the day, it's, different parts of one whole. So for me, I think that is just telling of a great lawyer needs to be able to touch on all those particular...
Things. And then
she developed relationships, which is what I think we say over and over again, develop client relations. And I think for our clients, most times they say legal is a different center, usually a cost center. So legal, its customers are the business people, are the procurement people, like all those other people are their clients. So our advice, their advice, feeds into kind of a whole chain. So just, I think for me hearing this gives a very good perspective.
And then you also have to pack properly.
We'll consider that as well. We will, over the break, Easter break.
No, but I agree with you. I feel like we mentioned when she was talking, when all of you were talking, I feel like I've reached my wisdom quota. Like, wow, you see, and you're like, I sit and talk with these people every day, and yet they have
we're not normal.
They're not normal. You're not ordinary people. Well, thank you. And just, I think, just as we wind down, I just want to hear from all of you, because I think we've spoken a lot about what our practice is, what we do. But again, we are both women and lawyers, right? And those two things come together.
We are.
Come together. And so just, if we're talking about women in law and business, we can't do away without addressing some of the myths or some of the talk and chatter or misconceptions or truths that are had about female lawyers, or I think I mentioned the whole last year when the idea of a stiletto lawyer was everywhere. Yes, but I just want to know from each of you very quickly as we wind up, and we'll start with Marion, if maybe what's one I would say misconception about either female lawyers or women in the workplace that you've since learned is not true or not the whole truth, not the full picture?
I think for the longest time, men expect women to show up the way they show up. Right? You know that thing of how they say, don't expect yourself from yourself. So men think if I'm to sit with a woman at the table, she has to show up like me. She has to be masculine. She has to be abrasive. She has to bang some tables if she has to. I don't think so. I still think that I can still be assertive. I can still get my point across by still being polite, maintaining my feminine energy, and still getting the point across. Because if you block out the fact that, yes, I'm a woman and maybe I'm wearing these kind colors and just focus on the point, and focus on the point I'm trying to make, you realize that we, at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're here for the client. So if you get over yourself and your egos and your other misconceptions, and it's just, we're here for the client. Let us serve the client. You can bang the table, you may shout and the whole floor hears you. Great, we thank the Lord for giving you lots of decibels. But at the end of the day, I can still get my point across through quiet authority. So for me, I think that's the biggest one. And I say that because most times, I think, I don't use the word underestimated, but I've been told, you're such a quiet girl. You're so quiet. Are you a lawyer?
Or kind and polite.
Yeah, you're very kind, you're very polite. I'm like, oh. Yeah, there is that. But when it's business, let's get work done for the client. Let's just move them from point A to point C and let's move on.
I think you can still be all those things. And you're a lawyer. I think that's like you can bring, when you say you can bring your feminine energy. So you can still have results and win your stilettos with a smile, or with a polite.
Because you see, the world is round. If I treat you badly today, you don't know what tomorrow holds. Tomorrow I could seek a favor from you. So that's why even when we're the whole thing of creating client relationships is, can I pick up a phone call in a moment of dire distress and get help from you? So if I'm very bitchy towards you because of this case or because of this transaction, the next day, and our market is very small, I'll meet you on a flight. So imagine then I sit next to you. How awkward will that be? So, yeah.
And you'll meet me on my bus sorority.
On the bus to sorority.
Thank you, Marion. Joseph.
I'm waiting for that bus to sorority, by the way. Misconception. I think it's a bit related to what Marion has mentioned, but I think it's we are soft, we are emotional. You know, women, you'd say, it's that time, yeah? And now you're in litigation, which is really, it's been for a long time. It's a boys' club, and it's, every corner you turn, it's a man. And every now and then you see a female, and you're like, Fuchs. I remember a few weeks ago, a young female litigator came to me in court, and she's like, it's been a while since I've seen another one in this court. So she was like relieved. Yeah. But it's that thought that, and I think we also hold it because we think we can't match up. We are not bullish. We can't farm up our voice and sound, But we are still capable. The beautiful thing about the work I do now, the litigation space especially, I think arbitration is a bit more easy in terms of anyone can. But litigation, the perception has always been, the biggest muscle, the loudest, the one who can speak the best English, the one who can command the room with his voice. But then you meet so many different personalities, both male and female, who are capable. But on the women's side, we bring a very unique set of skills and capabilities and things that occur naturally for us. You see, we are analytical, things that in our personal lives, people are like, you guys are so, you're not nosy, you plan everything, you don't just, those are the skills you bring to litigation. Preparation is very key. The need to look into a situation and see every possible outcome, which women do amazingly. Yes, it comes naturally. And when I see women, that's what they bring, the women litigators, which men sometimes struggle with. The organization, again, how to know pleadings. Sometimes I hear judges compliment, and I know who prepared in the office because Ruth worked on this document. But again, those are skills that we have naturally. And the emotion is now also, if you pick up on what Marion talked about, she spoke about relating with a client. Litigation isn't just a judge. Yes, there are clients involved, there are witnesses. You have to employ different skills, yes, and all those come into play. So emotions, I don't think so. We do everything else well. To be corporate, yes, you could say she's emotional, but she does her job excellently well. Marion does her job excellently well, and she's still female. Litigation is no different. So those misconceptions are held, but I think it's just a misunderstanding of our differences. Because just because you're not used to seeing it does not mean it can't be done by a person like that. And interestingly, you'll also see it with the male lawyers. I know one of the judges who's very complimented isn't the loudest judge. He has such a calm demeanor, but his command of the courtroom is exceptional. Yes. So everyone expects bullies, but a lot of judges are not like that. There are female judges who do their job excellently well, all the way to the highest court. And they come as women, very feminine. You'll see she wears her earrings, she wears her dresses, she puts on makeup. But she appreciates the law. She will help you find the solution that your client seeks. So at the end of the day, I hear that. I still hear those comments every now and then, and I hope, as in speaking to the men, that we start to see the world a lot wider than we have before, because it's much bigger. And it would also encourage the younger women to enter, because again, there's enough space. There is enough space. And in my team, for example, you'll find that now that's what we play. We play on each other's strengths and weaknesses, because someone will not be that analytical and they're like, I'm there thinking about plan C. But they're like, no.
You're ahead.
But naturally, I am the person who is dealing with problem number 20 because it happens. Yes. But yet, in my team, that works beautifully well. So we play against our strengths and weaknesses, and it makes us a stronger team. So you miss that out. You miss out on that if you are so closed off to anything else.
And I think also what I get from you then is we don't have to pick. I think
Correct.
Girls out there, law students thinking to practice law, junior lawyers thinking to go into litigation, people think, you don't have to pick between your being a woman and being a lawyer. Like, bring your woman to the law, right? And it will
it adds, and it's your strength. It's as soon as you start to play like someone who you're not, that's where now you fail. Yes, you're inauthentic, you'll fumble because it's like putting on a skin that's not yours. But you bring what you are.
People, the things are getting complex. Quiet authority. No, but just picking up from what Josephine has said, many people, first of all, we're going to talk about my father. Because he loves, I think it's in Ecclesiastes. I just said it well. It's a time for everything. So there's a time where emotion is needed and a time where, the other, I don't know what the other one is, but first of all, we are human beings. So we are emotional beings. Like, if you don't have emotion, you are dead. But the most important thing is all those things. Emotion is thoughtfulness. Emotion is logic. Emotion is like all those things that people want to call other names. That is actually emotion. And it's needed to deliver a result for your client. Emotion should not be mistaken with weakness. I think many times when we hear emotion, we are thinking the other one. That is not emotion. Emotion is all these other things that you're bringing in out of, to get to a goal. So for me, whenever I hear them say women are emotional, I'm just I don't
Like,
understand.
why is it in a negative
just like,
right, we're
if
all
I need to be
emotional,
emotional, the others I will be, but here, I need to bring in that, I need to dig deep other than reading the law. I need to quickly think, and all those is actually being, most time they tell us what? Emotional intelligence. What does it mean? It's not crying intelligence, but it requires you to read the room, situation, all those things to just... So for me, when I hear ladies are emotional, I just enjoy the color we are bringing.
Yes.
But I think it's also like just a closed-mindedness, just failing to open your mind up to the fact that the trends are changing, and men are now even being encouraged to be more vulnerable. So
to also be emotional.
to be emotional.
I think there is one as well. Management. Management. We have noted. I think one and. Probably before I even talk about that one, for me, it's because I don't want what I'm saying, to be again adding to the things. But I think if we keep hearing all these myths, false truths, I don't know what else, they start becoming reality. So I think also as not just women, but it's collective effort, by the way. Whether I have sons, I have a daughter, like we all need to work together to like demystify this stuff so that you hear it and I'm sorry, okay, they said what? And then you move on. Yeah, because mindset, lifestyle, how you put yourself in a place and how you then grow out of the mold, I think for me, comes from me as a person. I think one that we probably all, maybe it became more serious in COVID, work-life balance. And people are like, how do we balance this? Like, where is it? Yeah. And I think you said something earlier about they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, I can actually be able to do both. And I can do well at both.
At both, yes.
Of course, as, a scale, you're young, but... in the shops, they would have, one side has the scale and one side has the stones to balance it out. So once in a while, you might find that.
I haven't seen that thing, bro.
I have. When I used to buy sugar.
So sometimes you may find one is more demanding than the other.
Yes.
So it is, but there are so many things that you can do to.
So it's not always 50-50.
Exactly. Like, it may not always be 50-50, but that does not have to be tout les jours in French is every day, Once in a while.
You aren't ready for that one.
You are not ready yet? You're not ready.
I think we need a different subscription for this content.
Yeah. But as a person as well, nobody is going to prescribe for you as a woman in the workplace. No one prescribes for you. This is the perfect work-life balance. It's up to you to say, this is not working for me. Maybe I'm tipped off in too much life. You are enjoying too much. Or you are working too much. Basically, look around you. So it could be your environment. Maybe you need to change that. Or two, do you need to get support? Many times we talk about delegating. Yeah. It may be at this level, whatever level at your home. That support is delegation. Many times we want to put delegation in a box that it's not. It's the same thing that you're doing at home that you can do at work. You're just playing them one against the other. And for me, I just feel so long as a person you're happy, like I am comfortable, I have made this decision, the other people are not happy about it, but I am happy and it's helping me achieve the things that I want to do. Of course, and as a lawyer, are you achieving, not just your goals, but goals for your client? Yeah. So for me, that is where I say you go back. You don't have to choose one over the other. If you choose one over the other, it doesn't matter what the other person says. Are you, comfortable? Are you happy with your decision? Are you able to? And it doesn't mean that this is the end. My husband says, if you don't change your mind, you're a fool. So if you cannot say, I chose this one, but it has not panned out well. Can I try out the other one? Yeah. For me which is why there is balance. It hasn't said work-life balanced. Yes, it's work-life balance. It's you are always at that point where you're exactly every day you're doing something to get to that point. And finally, final, like the way we save documents, final, is women are just as capable. I don't want to say even more, but women are just as capable. Women, I have worked with ladies, they are resilient, they are committed.
That one, absolutely.
Yeah. Especially if this firm will know that the ladies are very committed. And we are very deliberate. I think it comes to your point of it is a planning thing, it is a diligence thing. That is what they're calling emotional. But there's, a difference that we both bring. And I think we're just two parts of the whole. Let's embrace each other. Let us get to that point where we're working for a common goal. Because you have a sister, you have a mother, you have somebody around you who we are working towards empowering. I think this team was what? Yes, and then there was rights, equality, and empowerment. Okay, can we recognize women's rights? We have recognized them. Can we equalize, i.e. give same opportunities? It doesn't mean give same opportunities. Because, you had Muha. She wants challenging. Don't give her, oh no, I think she's not available because she's married, because she has children. Because no. Give her the opportunity and let her show up and do it. And then empowerment. We must be deliberate about what we are doing for the women. Are we showing them where these opportunities are? Are we, do you need to study more? Do you need to, basically, getting to that point where you sit back and say, really, we gave you the opportunity. As a person, maybe you just didn't want to take it up. Yeah, that's for me.
And that's the ideal, because we should ideally not even be talking about this, of misconceptions. We have gone so far. So why don't we finish
just go to and cut the line at the end of the race.
And now build towards other things together.
And actually, before you close, I would say, carrying someone along, even as we get empowered and need to see, who are you mentoring? Who are you carrying along with you so that...
To sorority.
To sorority, indeed. so that they can actually learn from you as well.
That's true.
Yeah, carry someone.
Yes, I think if you guys were also me, you wouldn't add anything to the things that
Ruth, tell us a myth maybe that you may have had. You may agree, by the way.
And how can I add to all these things?
No, tell us maybe a myth. Yeah.
No, I think maybe, and it's interesting that you ended where you did on carrying someone along, because for me, the myth or misconception, and I think this is in the later part of the women's empowerment journey or the feminism journey, is that you hear a lot in corporate spaces, even as you're ending school, that women's enemies are women.
Yeah.
You've had that, right? That in the corporate space, it's the woman that is holding down the other women, or women are not treating themselves well, or women are nicer to men than they are to their fellow women. I had a lot of that, right? And then I came here, and I think, well, one, my hand has been held by everyone in this firm. But also when I look back, the women, and like you said, I am very young, just like but I have been supported, comforted, rebuked, corrected, inspired, challenged. I've had by women, I've had women in the firm open an opportunity to say, can we add Ruth to this transaction? Do you need help here? Do you need support here? I have learned a lot from the women of the firm. Chidi's not with us. Alice learned a lot. Winnie, I am learning as a continuous act. I continue to learn a lot. I was seated here and I just said, this is so much wisdom. But yes, just to say that, I don't know if it's just in this workplace. I'm hoping it's everywhere, but I have not seen that. I have not seen I'm the woman in the room and there must not be any other women. No, I've seen a deliberate act to support and, build up and comfort and check in and make other women, comfortable.
There's enough room for all of us.
Yeah, so that one is not true. That one I'll sit here and say is not true, yes. And it's just that you guys pushed me to say something. You had to. After this session, I feel like I am many, many years wiser.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing all your experiences with us. Right? About 30.
There's a joke where people submit bids and they say they have 70 years experience. And you are like, they only have 70 years? Oh, but they just mean that if we put together that.
Yes. And I feel like we shouldn't be getting this information for free, but we have gotten it for free. So thank you so much for also bringing your woman to this episode. I've had a lovely time with all of you.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to continue the conversation, feel free to engage with us at SNL Advocates across our different digital platforms. Till next time.